Hey guys, this is going to be an update video to my CJS knife grinding jig, as I believe I'm going to call it from now on. If you've seen my first video I put up, I had a video showing the initial build of a knife grinding jig I made based off of an idea that Jeff from CJS Knives came up with. And I really liked his idea. It's very simple, very easy to make, yet seemingly effective. From what I could see, and even with an initial testing of myself, it showed very effective, even with the poor build that I did. So I'm very impressed with it. It's a very decent jig, pretty good idea, and as you can see, it's built with minimal material and a minimum number of components for that matter. So this is actually my third version here. I've just kind of been improving it as I go along. I made some modifications that I discussed in the first video of doing, and even after those modifications were done, I looked at it a little bit more and decided that it could be even better than what I had. I'm still not sure if this is as nice as Jeff's. He definitely made a good jig himself, and again, I'm just borrowing off of his ideas. But we'll go ahead and go over the modifications I made to my initial build and some of the other things I did here tonight. First thing you may notice is I went ahead and built a new tool table. I wasn't really happy for a long time with the one that I was using. While it was sufficient for what I was doing, it could have been better, simply in the sense that I needed a longer one. And I went ahead and got a 12-inch piece of 1/4-inch plate, which was 4 inches wide. It's really the same width as my last table, and as you can see, I just bolted it straight on top of that. And this just gives me more room to work going left and right to left while grinding and things of that nature. Definitely something I've been wanting to do for a long time, something I've needed to do and just never got around till now. So I'm very happy with the results, and we're going to get a lot of use out of this table with or without this jig. As far as the jig is concerned, I did make quite a few modifications to my first attempt. One of those that I discussed in the last video was moving the bolts closer to the end, and what that does is it just gives it a wider base to sit on from the front corner to the end of the bolts there. I also reduced their diameter from 3/8 to a 1/4-inch bolt, just to give it a little bit more precision and just to help it sit a little better and give it a little more adjustment overall. Another thing I did was I went ahead and put 2 locking nuts on each bolt, whereas one would have probably been alright. I decided to add just an extra measure of security and put 2 locking nuts, just to decrease the chances that this is going to vibrate loose on me and mess up my grinding angle, which would kind of defeat the purpose of the jig anyway. Another thing I did was I did shorten this up. Initially I thought maybe a longer jig would be a little better, but I kind of got to thinking about it, and I'm probably going to clamp it strictly from the handle for the most part when using this jig. And since none of my handles are going to exceed probably 5 inches or so, I figured that would be plenty long enough for clamping. I could have probably even shortened this up a little bit more, but I figured I'd compromise between a compact size and a more stable size. So I did cut it down to about 5 inches. And as you can see, I just spaced my bolts out fairly evenly. I just went 1 inch in from the sides and then centered one up. As far as the clamp is concerned, I've made a few changes to that. Originally I was going to use individual strips of 1 inch flat stock or even 3/4 to clamp my blades to the jig with, But I decided it would be a little easier and just better all around to use a single piece of flat stock, which one gives me less to have to adjust individually, and two, it just gives a more consistent clamping pressure across the whole length of the jig rather than 3 separate points. The first modification I made, I just used a 1-inch piece of flat stock, 1 inch wide, across the length of the jig, and I wasn't really happy with that. It didn't give as much surface area to clamp with, and another thing, originally I just bolted it directly to these 3 bolts to attach to the jig, and what that did was it allowed this bottom part to tighten completely against the jig, which when the knife handle was in place would cause the whole flat piece to angle itself, and that really gave a very small surface area to clamp with, and it also tended to cause the knife to lean forward with the piece as well, and I really need it to lie flat against the angle stock there, such as it is now. So to kind of remedy that, I widened this out to 1.5 inches to give even more surface area to clamp with, and then I added a couple thumb screws to set this flat stock off of the angle a little bit, as you can see, and that allows me to make this parallel and get maximum clamping pressure at the same time to get the best clamp on my blade that I can. And the great thing about this, with the setup like this, it should clamp the longest handles to the shortest handles, no problem. So that's pretty much the jig. I don't really see needing to do too much more to this. I might redo this flat stock here on the front just because I drilled it a little bit crooked. Not that it's affecting performance at all, but it would look a little nicer if I fleshed that up a little better. So that's that. Definitely got a good stable clamp, good stable base, and this should work pretty well for keeping a consistent angle when doing my flat grinds. One thing, this table really still isn't as long as I would like it to be. I would probably prefer something like 18 inches instead of 12, but I think I'm still going to adjust this back and forth as needed, since it's a pretty quick adjustment with a thumb screw anyway. So we still have a few inches of play that we can go back and forth if needed, because as you can see on these longer blades, we are kind of running out. Well, if I'm careful, I could still get a pretty stable angle. It becomes a lot harder without at least 2 bolts down on the table. So another thing I could do is just move this blade over a little bit. But then we might start getting in the way of these bolts and the clamping plate. So anyway, that's that. I just wanted to post this update video showing the improvements I made. Pretty happy with it. I'm going to try it out a little bit later. I got some other projects I need to work on, but we'll definitely see how it works and how good of a flat grind we can get ourselves. One thing to keep in mind here in the last minute or so of the video, when you're doing plunge cuts on both sides, since this is something you're going to have to rotate the blade on when doing opposite ends, just need to make sure that the plunge lines are parallel on both sides, going the same direction, the same angle. So that is something I will have to keep in mind when rotating any blades, but shouldn't be too big of a problem. We'll just kind of eyeball it like so. So I want to thank Jeff again for the idea, and I'm pretty excited to start using this and see what I can do. So as always, thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to rate, comment, or subscribe if you've not already. There's plenty more knife videos to come, so stay tuned.